Hi there, and welcome to lesson number 6 in the first module. What I'm going to be doing in this lesson is building on what we covered in lesson 5, where we looked at some chord sequences and how we number the chords using Roman numerals. What I want to do in this lesson is to try and extend your chord vocabulary and show you some different chords, building off the chords that we already know. So, the chords that we know, these 7 chords, are C, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor, B diminished, and C. Okay, so those are the chords in the key of C. What I'm going to be doing first of all is looking at the key of G. The reason I'm going to look at the key of G is because it contains all the notes that are in the key of C, with the exception of one. There's one sharp note, if you like, which is actually this F sharp there. So the scale goes like this: G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, which is tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. Okay? Now if we do exactly the same thing that we did with the C major scale and harmonise it using the first, the third and the fifth, we still get exactly the same chord structure, which is major, minor, minor, major, major, minor and diminished. So in the key of G, the chords are G. Great, you already know that one. Then it's A minor. Again, you already know that one, which is really good. Then in the key of C we play B diminished. In the key of G we need to play a slightly different chord. We need to play B minor. I'm going to play it like this. Essentially all I'm doing is I'm taking that A minor shape, refingering it, moving it up 2 frets and using my first finger to bar across the strings. Now you might struggle to do this to start with, in which case you can just play it by fretting that top note. So it come out sounding something like that without the low B in there. But I'll play it barring across. Then we've got C. Good, we already know that one. Then we've got D major, which is that. Now we already know D minor, and we know that this note, the F note here on the first fret of the top E string, is the note that makes that chord minor. We also know that major chords have got a 2-tone or 4-fret interval between the root and the major third, and that the minor chords have got a 3-fret or a 1.5-tone interval. So to make any minor chord major, we find the note that is making it minor, shift it up 1 fret, and that will make it major. So this is D minor. If I move that note up 1 fret, I have to slightly refinger the chord. So I'm going to move my second finger to the 2nd fret of the E string and my first finger to the 2nd fret of the G string, and then my third finger will play the 3rd fret of the B string, but I get this. But essentially all I've done is I've moved that note from there to there. So any major chord, if you want to make it minor, flatten the 3rd. Any minor chord, if you want to make it major, sharpen the 3rd. So our 5th chord in the key of G is D major. Then we go to E minor. And now our F sharp, which is this note here, needs to be diminished. So I'm just going to play it like that. You could just play that if you wanted to, which is your 3rd finger on the 3rd fret of the A string, your little finger on the 4th fret of the D string, and your 1st finger on the 2nd fret of the G string. But then you need the, if you wanted a low root note, that note there, just bar it across. Don't play those top strings necessarily. And back to G. Again, don't worry too much about the 7 chords because in most popular chord sequences they're not really used. It's more of a leading note. You can even play the note like that. It just leads into it. So if you went from D like that, you don't have to play the full chord. So don't worry about it too much. Worry about the primary and the secondary chords. Primary chords being all the major chords, secondary chords being all the minor chords. So what we have is G as our first chord, A minor as our second chord, B minor as our third chord, C as our fourth chord, D as our fifth chord, E minor, and F sharp diminished as our 7th chord, and then back to G. Another thing to bear in mind is a lot of songs are actually written in minor keys, and everything I'm showing you here is in a major key. A minor key is the same as a major key, but its home chord is different. So whatever the 6th chord is of a major key, that is the home chord of its relative minor key. Okay, so in this particular case of G major, the 6th chord is E minor. Okay, so when you write music down, if you write a song in the key of E minor, and a lot of rock songs are in the key of E minor, it's actually the same notes as in the key of G major, but the tonality of the key is based around the E. So if I was to play E minor, A minor, B minor, we would say that was in the key of E minor. If I was to play it in G, and I play the primary chords, the G, C, D, G, C, D. That sounds different. The tone chord is G, so that's in the key of G major. So G major and E minor are actually, they all have the same notes. They're written the same. Okay, so I'm going to move on now to the key of D. What you noticed about the key of G was there was 1 sharp in it, the F sharp, which was on our 7th degree of the scale, and that gave us our diminished chord, our 7 chord. In the key of D, there's 1 additional sharp, so it contains all of the notes that are in the key of G with an additional sharp. Again, let's go through it. So we'll go from the open D, and I'll go D, E, which is 1 tone, F sharp, so that was in the key of G, which is another tone, G, A, B, C sharp, back to D. Okay, so as we move through these different keys, the 7th is always our additional sharp note, if you like. If you're going to move from the key of G to the key of D, actually the only difference is that 1 note. So it changes the tonality of the chords, but within the actual key, we're only playing actually one different note. Okay? So, key of D, D major, E minor, F sharp minor. Now all I've done there is I've taken that E minor chord, shifted the whole thing up by 2 frets, and used my first finger here as a bar across all 6 strings. It is quite difficult for some beginners, you'll find, until you build up some of the muscle strength in your forearms. And there's an element of technique as well. If you slightly offset your thumb on the back with the bar, it gives you a little bit more leverage and it gets the bar sounding a bit better. And initially when you're first starting, a lot of these chords can be quite hard to sound. Don't worry about them. You're better off getting your fingers in the right place and the right sound not quite coming out. It will come with time. So F sharp minor is our 3rd chord, then G, which we already know, then A. We should be able to work this out because we know A minor. That's our 3rd note. Move it up by 1 fret. Minor, major. Okay, so the A major chord is the A string open, and then I use these three fingers, my second, third and fourth fingers, all on the second fret on the D, G and B strings. And then B minor, and then C sharp diminished. Now all I can do here is I can take the shape that I played for the B diminished in the key of C, and move the whole thing up 2 frets. And that's my C sharp note there. And back to D. So D, E minor, F sharp minor, G, A, B minor, C sharp diminished, back to D. Okay. The last one I'll look at is the key of A. Now this follows exactly the same pattern in that it contains all of the notes that are in the key of D, with the 7th note being sharpened. The notes are A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A. Okay? 2 frets, 2 frets, 1 fret, 2 frets, 2 frets, 2 frets, 1 fret. So A, we already know this because we cover this in the key of D. B minor, we already know. C sharp minor, I'm just going to move that whole shape up 2 frets. That's my C sharp note to there. D, E major, again the E minor, which we've covered, that's our 3rd note, the note making it minor. I'm just going to play the 1st fret and sharpen that note by 1 semitone. It gives me E major, then F sharp minor, G sharp diminished, back to A. Okay, so I'll go through those 3 keys so you can hear the chords and see what my fingers are doing. So key of G is G, A minor, B minor, C, D, E minor, F sharp diminished, G. The key of D is D, E minor, F sharp minor, G, A, B minor, C sharp diminished, and D. And then the key of A is A major, B minor, C sharp minor, D, E, F sharp minor, G sharp diminished, and A. So if we were to take the 1st, 4th and 5th chords from the key of G, they would be G, C and D. 1st, 4th and 5th chords from the key of D would be D, G and A. And in A it would be A, D and E. Now can you see as we're going through these keys, the 5th chord that you're ending with is actually then the 1st chord of the next key. So it's quite a good place to change. So you could go G, C, D, D, A. So you can hear how the chords are sounding together. They're actually moving between those 3 keys there, but we're playing all of that with chords that we already knew anyway. Okay, so I'm going to leave you with that for now. In the next lesson, what I'm going to be doing is building on this a little bit more, extending your chord vocabulary, but actually starting on some just quite simple lead guitar techniques. So you get to really understand how some of the scales then fit in with these chord sequences, so you can then come up with melodies that you can play over the top. Feel free to visit the website, that's www.myguitarteacher.net, and the Facebook page, which is facebook.com/myguitarteacher. And I'll see you next time. Thanks a lot.